Right, hello. So Sunday stream, obviously, if you've been around for a while, you know what they are. As usual, as soon as I start talking for these streams, I start yawning. So this is a public stream, so obviously I've got slow mode on just because otherwise, if enough people come on the chat, just get spammed to how. What was I going to say? It might not be that long a stream today, but I'm hoping I will get a chance to do at least a stream every day during the week. I might alternate it between members and non-members streams each day. But I'll probably be able to at least do a stream every day during the week this week, because it's been one of those a bit of annoying weeks the last week where there's been a lot of days where I've had stuff on. So by the time, I've had a chance to stream, I thought, not really got the energy. Right, I'll do pop-out chat because it looks like already the YouTube official chat is broken again. Yeah, it is. So hello, everybody. Hello, Stug. So as usual, all right, Thomas, we'll try and keep these streams, non-political if we can, just because obviously it's quite an easy way for people to get into arguments. So I'd rather not talk about this country is better than that country. But hello, Brighto. So I've just been helping my granddad do some gardening and stuff today. I've not done loads. Yesterday I had quite a few bits on throughout different times of the day, so I couldn't really do a stream yesterday. That's why that was like that. I don't know what I can do to help you if a seller won't accept or decline your offer. It would make me think the seller isn't interested in offers. They just want you to buy it now. So yeah, I've not really been doing much. I did buy Battlefield 5 when that was on Steam sale the other day. Not Battlefield 5, Battlefield 1, the World War I one that's not very historically accurate. But I did buy that because it was on sale, and it's actually quite good. Like, obviously, from historical accuracy reasons, it's not very good, but it is quite a nice looking, all right game about World War One. I mean, obviously, play Verdun or Tannenbaum or whatever it's called, Tannenberg, whichever one it's called, for a more realistic sort of horrible World War One experience. Battlefield 1 seems to be all right. That's a good way of doing it, Brightolt. Yeah, I kept meaning to do that. I've just never really had a chance to do it very well. I've heard that there's a new strain of COVID-19 in India. Yes, Matthew, but I've not heard how dangerous it is or whatever. There's arguments here, as always, should the government extend lockdown, but we're never going to get out of lockdown over here if the government, extends lockdown every time a new strain pops up. It's really going to be down to how dangerous it is and does it get past vaccines. Because in theory, if vaccines are still pretty efficacious against it, there's no reason at this point slowing down everything else, and enough jobs have been lost already, due to everything else. All right, Joshua. It was quite warm today, AK. 30 odd Celsius outside. Don't know what that error is, Bright. I'll Google it. I assume it doesn't like your GPU or something. I'd assume, but yeah, it was quite a warm day today because I was having to use my thermal camera, because when I went over to my granddad's, I was trying to work out what tiny little bit of his roof is still leaking, and I think I've finally found the spot now using a thermal camera, because I found one spot, where despite the fact I put a load of the insulating silicone stuff on there, adhesive, you could still see that the temperature was a bit different. So I reckon I need to make it thicker there, because I reckon the silicone's probably had a bubble in it, just letting the heat through. But yeah, so other than playing Battlefield 1 a bit recently, I've not done loads, but as I said, I've been quite busy doing stuff. So I'm trying to think what videos I'm going to get done this week. There's a video I want to do, but if it has really boring things, I won't bother doing the video on it. It's one of those things where I'll try and film something. If it works for filming it, I'll definitely do a video on it. What's VC++? No idea what that is. Is that a scripting language? Voice chat? I don't know. Yeah, I'm assuming, Joe, it's just a seller that's not actually paying attention to it. I'd just put a bid on it then if I was you. When I sell stuff on eBay, I just turn off best offers now, just because I got so many, really piss-takey best offers. All right, Mike, how was your head today? But yeah, it's just because whenever I sell stuff on eBay, like I said, I don't have an eBay shop, but let's say I've got an old bit of surplus and I just want to sell it. I turn off best offers if I bother putting anything on auction, just because the amount of times you'll have something like starting bid £30 and then you get people like offering you a fiver. It's just like, I just get fed up of like basically as politely as possible saying you're taking the piss. John, I don't know if your previous comment showed up. What's the rifle you're doing? But personally, if it's an old surplus rifle, I would do it back up to old mil spec, because I get a bit pissed off when people sporterize military guns, but it depends what it is and how common it is. If it's something like a mass-produced Mosin Nagant, I don't really mind if people sporterize them well. It's when people get the rarer ones and then they, like just hack bits off and put shitty bits of plastic on, that don't even fit, like the FUD things. How much did you have then last night, Mike? Because I stayed on your stream till about 11:30, I think, and that must have been when I was drifting off. At the moment, Harley, just a Swiss Army knife. I don't have my keys in this room, otherwise I'd show you. But at the moment, I have my Swiss Army knife just on my key ring, just because that's quite convenient. It means if ever I'm out and about and need one of the tools of my Swiss Army knife, it's always on my keys. Yeah, Joe, I'm assuming because you offered less than the starting bid, that's why he's not got back to you. Oh, thank you, Contractor, for joining up. I generally do a members stream every other day, sometimes more than that, so it might be. But generally, let's say I do 5 streams a week. Generally, at least like 3 of those will be members streams, but some weeks I only do like 1 public stream a week and all of them will be members. All right, Rich? What helmet are you trading for that, Stug? If you want to get a PMG one, get a PMG one. They're not exactly expensive. But yeah, with the reason members streams work out quite a lot better is quite often. No, I don't think it came through, Brighton. Quite often with member streams, people can stay on topic for something for about 10 or 15 minutes. So you end up having quite a good chat about like an old piece of technology or, something like that. The problem with non-member streams is generally the topic changes like every 30 seconds when everyone asks different questions. All right, Vladimir? Yeah, it might depend on what you're drinking, Mike, and how hydrated you are, and like what you ate, the day before. There's a lot of factors in it, isn't there? But yeah, thankfully, I've not been hungover in quite a while, but that's just because recently, I've been avoiding spirits and wine, so if I have wine or spirits, I'll just be sensible with it. And then I pretty much can't get hungover on beer because I feel too full by the time I've had a couple of beers. No chocolate muffin. I was hoping today I'd have heard something, but no, still not heard anything. I imagine if within a month I've not heard anything, I've definitely lost my job. I would assume chocolate muffin at least. But the problem is I'd say every day that goes on and you don't hear anything isn't good news. Because I think, to try and put it in a simple way, I think the problem a lot of companies have now. So it's a language. Okay, Brighto, yeah. So yeah, but the problem is, I think, with a lot of jobs at the moment is lots of companies can reopen, but not fully reopen with the restrictions. Those companies need to work out how much money they're going to be taking in to work out how many staff they can basically get back. Because I don't know with furlough schemes, if they're allowed to take staff back and then put them back on furlough. It might be that if you take staff off furlough, you have to put them on their contract. And in that case, I can certainly see why companies aren't doing it. But obviously, it's not nice if you're the employee and you want to know if you've got a job or not, and it's just getting dragged out because they're waiting until basically the last minute where they can make the decision. Oh, so it's an old 1903 Remington. I suppose if you've only got a couple of bits of it, John, if it's easier to do a sporter and that works better, then that would be fine. Yeah, it's just generally I don't like the sport things, when somebody buys like pretty much a good mil-spec gun. Right, I know I shouldn't be showing this on a stream, but I'm not going to cock the bolt or anything, so I'll take the risk. So, basically, is, say like I got this old, the Schmidt Rubin, and then I bought one of these like this, and then I smashed the wood off, and then was like, oh, I'm going to put plastic on it. That's when I hate sporterization of things, but when you like buy a couple of components, then it doesn't really matter, does it? Because you just restore it the way you want. I'd say just do it to whatever make you're most happy to do, or doesn't cost the most. Right, happy birthday then, Vladimir. Yeah, a lot of people I know, Vladimir, do it with fatty food. Like, back when COVID wasn't a thing and you could go out drinking a lot, people always go to McDonald's, and that was one of the reasons McDonald's used to open till like 3 or 4 a.m. in Oxford city centre and a lot of other city centres. What I thought was really funny is a week when I was visiting one of my mates, is going back a bit, when he was at uni. So, I was staying in his student accommodation and then I was coming back. I got to my car where my car was parked, I think like 5 a.m. because I, set my alarm really early because the idea was I wanted to get home and then have a sleep properly when I got home on the day I came home. So I went to the McDonald's to get a coffee before I started driving back. And because that was only about an hour after the clubs kicked everybody out, everybody there was like pissed and falling over when I was just like going to the counter like, oh, can I have a coffee, please? Because I was actually, like completely sober, which is a very strange feeling when you're surrounded by drunks and you're sober. Yeah, it depends, doesn't it? I think some people have different foods because you need something that's not going to make you vomit if it's in your stomach and your stomach's a bit queasy from alcohol. And all right, Fluzzy? What was that? The Reuben, Fluzzy. I'm not meant to get them out on streams because of the things. But the Reubens are surprisingly cheap for what they are. Right, David. We're in the situation now where we've got issues where COVID now in the UK is all right, despite it being shit for ages because of how well the vaccination program's gone. But now the government doesn't want to ease a lot of lockdown things, even though they should be. So we're barely getting any daily new cases or deaths now. But the government's like, oh, I don't know about easing up on the lockdown like we promised, because politicians love power. Oh, the thermal. Sorry, Fuzzy, I must have missed your previous comment. But yeah, that's good, isn't it, the T2 search? I've got it here, actually. The only thing I don't like with the thermal is the app for it is pretty shit. Like, the app crashes a lot. I'm hoping at some point they'll make a better app for this. Makes it more stable. Because basically with the flare never turn the flare on, it works till you turn it off or the batteries run out. The problem with this thing, the actual hardware is really good. Like, the specs of the thermal unit are brilliant. The issue is the app for it is dog shit. Because, and I was reading loads of reviews, like the app has 2-point-something stars and half the reviews are like crashes constantly. So, you'll be using it and then it crashes and then you're trying to get up and you have to spend 5 minutes of the app crashing every time it starts up before it works again. Yeah, that'd be good, John, if you can get that all set up like that. What are you planning on shooting, Bright, or don't you know yet? Yeah, so yeah, happy birthday for then, Vladimir. But I probably do have a favourite camouflage pattern. I'm trying to think off the top of my head what it is. Out of all the camos I've got, I really like the old Russian or Soviet SS Leto, which is basically a recoloured Nazi German camouflage. So look up SS Leto if you want to look up what that one is, as in SS, and then Leto, Leto, like Duke Leto Atreides in, June, but I don't think it had any relevance to that. That's a really nice camo. You'll probably know it if you search it when you actually see the images of it. I think it's got a couple of different names. I like Flecktarn as well. I generally prefer spottier camos, I think, to like splodgy camos, if that makes sense, or like line camos. Yeah, sounds fun, Brighton. What, the Nixie tube clock? I certainly couldn't write my own app, Vladimir, but I'm hoping if I search around the App Store long enough, there might be a more stable app for it. Yeah, the thing is with German Flecktarn Stug is I like the older versions of Flecktarn, not the World War II variants, but like the 1980s, 1990s version of Flecktarn, where it seems to be like more orange and bright green. Because one of the problems I've noticed with Flecktarn, and again, it might be like the manufacturers of it, because a lot of different factories print it for the Bundeswehr. But there seems to be an annoying thing with Flecktarn, where, like, when you get the stuff from the mid-2000s, it's just, like, brown. It's, like, shades of brown and kind of yellow, where they've, like, really muted the colour palette. So, like, old Flecktarn, it's quite strong contrast. Like, the red in it, like, the red-brown is a really distinct colour compared to some of the greens. So if you buy a what's the name of it? Gore-Tex. If you buy a Gore-Tex coat with Flecton on, they look a lot better than the camos because it's always a brighter sort of shade. Yeah, exactly. So the brighter ones look better because you've got more essentially different colours in it. Otherwise, it's like shades of brown or green, and even the brightest green on the newer Flectons doesn't seem that green. It's kind of just like there's dark green, there's a darker green, there's dark brown, there's a darker brown, and then there's, I think, black on one of the versions, whereas like the old one was like dark green, bright sort of orange brown, dark brown, and then black. So the colours, have quite a distinction. Yeah, camos are a good thing to talk about, Mike, when they come up in conversation. I can try and work that out for you, Flazzy. That you could pick up rabbits. Let me work out the distance for you. In the last bit of the clip, you could see rabbits on like that field. If I go on Google Maps, what I can do then is I can use the distance tool to tell you how far away you could easily make out rabbits on the thermal. So if I do that, that will give you an idea of at least something as small as a rabbit. Then, you might be able to, work out further than that. So if I find on the map the field I was in. Okay, so it's cross that field there. Then it's this field, and it's the field of the pylon, isn't it? Which I think is this one on the map. Yeah, I found it because I can see the pylon. Right, measure distance. So there to there. Right, those rabbits on the last clip are about 130 meters away, Flazzy, from where I was standing, according to Google Maps. Oh, and thank you very much, Owain Dev, if that's how your name's pronounced. Well, fair enough, Brighton. Yeah, that's what I was on about earlier, Vladimir. That that's why I thought they called it SS Leto, wasn't it? Because it the SS bit is in Schustoffel. What was in Stricton? Okay, no, and I do like Stricton. I've got way too much stuff with Stricton posted on it, pasted on it, whatever you want to do it. Well, as said before, David, I'm not making one. It's saving up till I can find one for sale at a reasonable price. So basically, I won't have one until suddenly I have one, is basically how it's going to be. Because every month I've got more in the savings account for it than I did the last month. Yeah, Fluzzy, because obviously fox is bigger than a rabbit, isn't it, by quite a bit? And then, yeah. So, yeah, let me get the clip up just for the people so they can see what I'm on about who didn't see the video. Obviously, it will look better if you look at it, assuming I didn't cut them from my phone. Because if I did a cut paste, that's annoying. I did a fucking cut and paste rather than a copy paste. But yeah, it's anyway. But if you watch the video I did the other day, those rabbits, yeah, according to Google Maps, assuming the distance is correct, they're at one side of the field and I was on the other, and it's like a big crop field. But at the moment it's ploughed and there's no crops in it. So if I was stood on the very far side of that field to the other hedgerow, that's 180 meters at roughly the bit I was standing, and yeah, they were about 2/3 of the way across. So yeah, in terms of feet where they were from where I was, I mean, yards and meters are pretty similar, aren't they? So yeah, if you were saying what 300 yards, that would have been, yeah, pretty similar distance actually, I think. Yeah, 130 meters to yards. Let's just have a see what that is. Yeah, 130 meters is 142 yards. So I reckon there you'd probably pick up a fox fine. Because bear in mind, you can see stuff further away with it. It's just you run into the typical problem that the further away it is, you can just see it's a heat signature. You can't really work out what it is. Yeah, Fuzzy, it's weird. Sometimes the app works fine. Like sometimes I can use it all day, no issues. Other days it'll crash. Now, how you're meant to... Yeah, I will obviously be making videos on it, Buzzbar. So yes, people know when I have the bunker because there will immediately be a video on it. I'll do restoration videos on it, actually, if I buy one that's in a bit of a shit condition. Because I'm hoping really to get one that's in a not totally trash condition, but a lot's knocked off the value of it, because of the fact that some work will need doing on it. Because when you find ROC posts that are pretty much in the condition of you just need to add a generator and you're ready to go, those are the ones which typically go for a lot more. Where, if you're getting ones where you might need to drain some water out of it, dry it out, then repaint it, then rehook up, wiring to it, that's when you're probably going to cut probably like 10,000 off the price at least. That's interesting. I know that the Czechs do have a version of that Camo OK9, but I didn't know they had like a more modern one. Because obviously, like with strict arm, there's the East German one, then there's a Polish version of it, there's a Hungarian version, there's a Czech version. The Czech's the one that has the IR camo underneath. But yeah, Fluzzy, what I will try doing, just in case it makes a difference, I will try using that thermal like you're meant to on a cable, rather than plugging it directly in. Right, technically it's export banned, especially like the modern stuff like PVS 14s. Those night visions are banned over here. Like, not banned here, but banned from export sales by the US government. However, it does turn up. It's just it's got a premium on the price. But I mean, for the price you'd have to pay for a PVS 14 here, I'd say get a really good French night vision unit. Because the French, like, Generation 2 Plus units are really good. From what I know from people who own a lot of night vision units and get the French ones as well. So, in Europe at least, the price you'd be paying for an American one is kind of a bit overpriced, unless you really specifically wanted an American unit. Yeah. Anyway, let me just to show Flazzy. We'll see how reliably the app works at the moment. So we'll plug the thermal in. So I'm just plugging it directly into my phone. We'll load up the app. All right, I find it doesn't crash as much if you just kind of wait a bit on this screen. So there we go. Now it's come up saying it's ready for the thermal camera. Right, it's actually loading up the thermal here. Look, there we go. Oh, and it's crashed. There we go. Has it crashed or has it just minimized it? I think it might have just minimized it then, actually. I might go into my Android settings and try and work out if there's maybe something in Android fucking with the app. Because I know that can sometimes happen when another app keeps trying to draw over the top of it. So let me just have a quick look in my settings, because I know some apps try and tell you to do that. So maybe this might be one of those apps that likes you to check something in the checkbox on your Android thing, but it doesn't tell you to do it. Right, Andrak, from what I understand, yeah, I reinstalled it earlier, Vladimir, but I will do that. But yeah, I'm wondering if it's like one of those can it draw over the top of other apps kind of thing. Right, the company that makes this, they also do units like the FLIR Scouts, where they're like an actual all-in-built unit with the hardware and software all together. And apparently those are really reliable. It's apparently just when they run on different versions of Android and Apple when they start becoming unreliable. All right, Keaton. Yeah, right. Let me have a look and just see if on the app settings there's anything I can change with this app, like maybe give it more permissions. Right, permissions, denied phone. Let's just allow it to use the phone. Why not? Advanced. Okay. Let's see if there's anything on there. Doesn't look like there's much I can change for this one. Doesn't have any app timers on it or anything. But I will try connecting that to the cable, because I know if that wiggles in the slot, that sometimes causes problems for this. Because the problem is with USB-C, it's not that tight a fit, so it can shift around a bit in the thing. Right, okay, that's working again. So, right, as you can hopefully see there, the thermal's actually working. I've got it on Iron Rainbow, which is one of those weird ones that some people like, some people don't. So this is weird though, because sometimes this will work and it will work fine, like for an entire day. Other times it doesn't. Yeah, Iron Drac. I don't know how good their English site is, but basically, I'll dig the box out anyway later for the thing, and I'll play about with it with the cable. But I do know other people complained in the apps thing. But yeah, so what different company? All right, Mike. What different companies do it then, Flazzy? So you've got obviously Flair. Flair do a lot of thermal stuff because that's what they're famous for. But Flair tend to be pretty overpriced, don't they? At least in terms of like what the price of their like internal, units are. Do I have the Scout in this drawer? Yeah. So, for example, my Flair Scout. This has basically, if I compare these two units, this has lower resolution, lower frame rate, pretty much everything than this thing, except for the fact this is more reliable. I've never had this crash on me, I don't think. Yeah, so this is an infrared then. So, yeah, so there's different choices. Like I said, the problem is because of how expensive thermals are, I have not used enough to be able to say, this brand is reliably better than the others. Because from what I can say, this thing, performance-wise, when it's actually working, is a hell of a lot better than this thing. The thing is, this is a lot more reliable. That's the only thing of it. So obviously resolution, you can probably already tell, is massively better on the other unit than this thing. That's basically this thing's resolution. The frame rate on this is like 7 FPS as well. So if you do video, people move like that on it. Where it's like 30 FPS or something. How much RAM does my PC have? Let me do DX Diag and check for you because I've not had to look in ages. Yeah, not too bad, Dan. Bit of a busy weekend this weekend, so this is the only time I've had to do a stream this weekend. But during the week, I should be on a lot more frequently, Right, DX Diag. Right, memory. So 32 gig. So it's DDR4 32 gig. Without looking it up, I can't tell you what the actual clock speed of it is, but it's DDR4 32 gig basically. But that's because I use this PC for video editing rather than games. Right, I can check Task Manager for you if you want. Task Manager, performance. Well, yeah, memory. Obviously it says 31.9 gigabytes. Speed, 1600. I think I can change the clock speed, can't I? But I think it just works reliably on this. But yeah, I went for DDR4 just because I thought at the point I'm paying for a system, I might as well pay a bit more, get DDR4 rather than DDR3. But anyway, yeah. So from what I understand, the actual InfiniRay stuff or iRay, whatever you want to call them, they're actual units built like the Scout. They're self-contained units like this, from what I understand, are a lot more reliable than the phone ones. But I think the issue with the phone ones is it might also depend on what phone you're using. Because I know the regular Android version has much better reviews than the one I'm using. It's just because I'm on Android 10, I can't use the older versions. Yeah, that's the thing, Fluzzy. I'm saying the hardware on this is actually really good. It's just a shame the app is a bit crap. But I do know, like, I'm basically on a beta version of the app, so it might be that. Anyway, I will try it later on when I'm not streaming. I'll dig out where the box is and get the cable in it. So anyway, where is the... Let's get the app back up. One of my favorite uses for this is a bit weird, is if I've got a cup of coffee or tea, is checking the temperature of it so I don't burn myself. That's quite fun to do using this. But I actually think part of the problem with this might be if the connection shakes a little bit while you're using it, that might crash the app. I think that might be it now, saying that. Because I've noticed sometimes in certain positions you can hear it refocusing when it does that click thing. Well, not focus, but when it's reworking out the temperatures of everything. So maybe that's a sweet spot, but like I said, I know they generally recommend you have it mounted like there on a kind of phone tripod, and I did buy one to do that, but I've never used it. And then you have the cable, go from there to there. If that's a tighter fit, that might do it. But anyway, I'll get back to you on that. I'll try it on a different, thing, and I'll see if it has more joy doing that. But yeah, you can see this wiggles a bit, and I think that's probably why it keeps crashing. All right, they don't see through doors, Oliver. How thermals work is basically they see long wave infrared, so they tell you USB-C, Ryan. So basically, what it'll do, Oliver, is if a door is open, then you can see temperatures through it full stop, even if it's pitch black. So what did you say? You fixed the problem, Drac, by cleaning it or not cleaning it? There is a GP5 buried down there, yes. But yeah, like I said, it did come with a proper cable, and I do recommend you use that. It's just because it plugs straight into my phone, most of the time I do that just because it's convenient. But yeah, like I said, I won't do it now, but what I will do is when this stream's over, I'll dig out where the box is for it, because it isn't very far away. I think it's just in one of the rooms in the house, either the front room or one of the other rooms. And I will try using it via the cable and see if I get better results doing that, because if the cable is a bit of a tighter fit, that might solve a lot of the issues. But like I said, I do know in the App Store other people were complaining about the reliability of the app. Now, there isn't a topic for this stream, Keaton, as long as people don't turn it into politics. But yeah. Oh, so okay, Ryan. So what did you just go to a kiosk and somebody so what you're saying? Somebody did a phone repair job. This phone's too new, I think, to have any issues like that. Because bear in mind, this phone's only a couple of months old. But yeah, I think it's probably more of just a stability thing with it sticking in the port. But like I said, I won't go on too much about that, because if I properly mount it and then it still runs into issues, then it's probably not the connectivity. It's probably something to do with the app. What are the Arab Drifters, Keaton? Are they a pop band? But no, I've probably not heard of this at all. Yeah, Flozzy, but bear in mind, let's see. I'm trying to think, because obviously Infinarray do a few things, don't they? But because obviously, if we go on here, look, this is blatantly their one that's meant to be like the Scout. Oh, my charger goes fully in normally. I'm just saying this isn't. But yeah, so bear in mind, this thing looks fairly solid, and that's obviously their version of this, isn't it? Looking at this, from what I can tell, that's blatantly their product that's meant to do this thing. So, yeah, although it's probably going to be really expensive, let's have a look. This that they do as the E6N, pretty damn high resolution for a thermal, because it's 640 by 512, 50 hertz frame rate. That's pretty good. 12-hour battery. Weight 400 grams. That's not too bad. detection range 1,298 meter. Bear in mind, their cheapest, the V2 one, the EN V2 one, this is 675 meters. And generally, I found a lot of these thermals work outside of their detection ranges. Yeah, let's see if we can find it listed somewhere, because obviously their official site says get a free quote, but I think you can buy them through other manufacturers, can't you? Let's have a look. Let's just see if, like on AliExpress, for example, they do these. If not, ask Hype, because he always seems to know where to buy a lot of these things. Yeah, see, a lot of the Infinirace stuff is just in stock on AliExpress, so I would assume that you can probably buy it through different like suppliers, because obviously Infinirace is just buying it direct from the manufacturer. But I can't see that particular one on there. But there's quite a lot of different Infinirace things on there. Because yeah, if I get a picture up for you, if it will let me direct link to a picture, maybe it will, maybe it won't. Right, now that's awfully low res. I won't do that. Yeah, because with most of these thermal ones, they either show it directly in the phone or they show it like secured on the back of the phone with like a tripod. And I bet it does work better secured. Right. Will that thing Keaton's posted worked? No, because it's doing the funny thing with the link. Let me. Oh, so when you say drifting, you mean cars. Oh, I get you now. Yeah, sorry. When you're saying like Saudi drift or Arabian drift, I thought you were on about like some weird band or something. No, but you mean like drag drift racing? Yes, I know what you mean now. Like car drifting. Yes. But yeah, I will let you know, Flazzy, if I get any more luck with reliability when they do like an updated version of the software or whatever else. Or I set it up differently. But I do know they do recommend you use it like mounted on the back of your phone with a cable. It's just I've never bothered doing that. Also, I suppose I could get a USB C to regular USB thing and see how reliably it works in a PC using like a PC version of it. Yeah, I don't know what drifting's really got to do with this stream. I mean, if you're watching drifting and enjoying it, that's fine. I mean, I doubt I've got much interest in drifting. I mean, when I watch racing, I generally sometimes watch rally racing because that's more like realistic racing if people were just doing stupid things with their cars, as in, doing dodgy driving down country roads. That's what rally driving basically is. I like the F1 at the start when the cars crash. Sort of a shame of not much shame in saying that. That's the most exciting bit, the first couple of laps where sometimes the cars crash and set on fire. I enjoy that. NASCAR is like the most boring thing ever. That's where cars just slipstream each other constantly. I don't watch that. Is there any other kind of motor racing I watch? If there were more demolition derby type things, demolition derbies, I'd watch those. But sadly, I've like never seen those in years. But I do like. I kind of just like things where they get smashed up. I just find it more fun. Probably makes me a horrible person, but I enjoy watching the cars come apart and people risking their lives. See, if there was more racing that was just kind of like a Mad Max movie, I'd definitely enjoy that more. You see, the thing that disappoints me with F1 is that it's a lot safer than it used to be. Because the really cool thing with F1 is back in like the 70s and 80s, it was really dangerous because there were a lot less restrictions on it. It was kind of like if a company could come up with a fast, more, insane car, they did it. But then due to all the deaths, they stopped them doing that. So Andrex says, just throwing this out there, but if you want your own medical files from your doctor, not COVID related, you need to keep an unopened USB drive and they'll upload all your stuff just in. When you say USB, do you mean USB? I can technically get all my medical files from my doctor. I've got them because I've got the online kind of secure access where I can request stuff online. In the UK, you can actually get that on the NHS. You can request any of your files and look at them. Oh, I've got Wreckfest, Ryan. I like that, and BeamNG Drive and all those where you just basically, horribly crash cars. That's a bit of a waste of an abandoned building, Drunk Russian 69. Have you played a game, though, called Teardown? I think if you played Teardown, that would be exactly what you want in a game. But yeah, what was the other one you're saying about Fuzzy MotoGP? I've never really watched it when it's on, but that's the bike one, isn't it? I have watched that actually now and again. We used to have a speedway track not too far from us, but sadly that's not been a thing for years. A lot of my relatives like watching speedway. But yeah, for people who don't know about like Vladimir was saying, 1980s F1, look it up. I mean, you can find like the videos on Lively where people get fucking like ripped apart on the racetrack. Like, I'm not saying that like it's a good thing, because obviously those people had families and everything. But, the point was, it was a much more Wild West sport back then. Not when, we need to stop the race because somebody's car's broken down. No, fucking hell. They would you'd have fucking exploding cars and shit. It's kind of, because this was before I was born, but it's just funny when you watch it and you're like, wait, this was actually how the sport used to be. But yeah, let's have I'm going off on a tangent here. 1980s F1 crashes. Is there a compilation of them? Worst F1 crashes by year, 1918 to 1999. Oh, I'm going to be watching this when the stream ends. Yeah, the 70s were good as well, weren't they, Flazzy, with that sort of stuff? But yeah, some of these like fucking fireballs on the cars go up due to how much like high octane fuel they've got in them. But yeah, that's good, Bob, if you've got a banger racing track near you, or like stock car racing and all that. But sadly, near me, there's nothing like that anymore. I've given a link, Vladimir. I've put the link there in the chat. So yes, as long as YouTube lets you click on it and it shows up, that'll be what I'm watching when the stream ends. I don't think I've ever seen that, Thomas, sadly. It's probably like not something that was televised much here. But if somebody knows, because I doubt a lot of it can stay on YouTube for copyright, but is there a website where you can watch like loads of old racing from different countries that's, like not the professional kind of stuff? Oh, it's professional, isn't it? Because the drivers have to be damn good, but, not the sort of stuff where big companies would stick their names on it. Forgotten Weapons is excellent. Yes, I like Forgotten Weapons. No, what's Cursed Soldiers? No, I've not GZ Deuce, but I will look at that. But I have been watching a load of his Bren videos he did not very long ago. But yeah, see, if somebody could recommend me a box set, like you were saying, where you can just watch crazy old fucking clips like on DVD like that, I'd probably buy them. Right, Thomas, you've sold me on it. Group B was stopped because too many people died. Right, it sounds like a good sport then. Group B rally. Let me search this up and then try and find clips from it. I'm not saying this like I'm some sort of person that jerks off to people dying in car crashes, because blatantly that's not me at all. But, weirdly, Group B, I think on Gran Turismo I did buy a load of Group B cars. So yeah, that's. So if before I look up all the details, is Group B just kind of like fucking insane rallying? Was that where they also had the really sported up like Sierra Cosworths? Was that did they potentially have those in Group B? Because I know there's some like crazy like Sierra Cosworth rally type videos, and that good old little Peugeot they made. Oh, don't you like ones in Rontgen's cheeky antics? I like Rontgen's as a unit. So it was just, there's no limits on what you could have, just four-wheel drive. So as a result, lots of crashes, lots of overpowered cars. Yes, exactly. That's the one, Flazzy. 205 GTI. You know, back when Peugeot made good cars. There's a whole Top Gear sketch about that, isn't there? But yes. You know, how I like the old Golf GTIs, because old GTIs are amazing when you used to have like a tiny car and stick a stupidly powerful engine in them. But the name Lancia Delta rings a bell. Let me. Yeah, looking at that, it looks very familiar. But again, it's those boxy old cars with stupidly powerful engines in, isn't it, basically? If you get exposed to X-rays, Cheeky, you can make that move fairly quickly. Yeah, there's some of the drag racing's quite good when you just see how fast cars can get off the mark. But yeah, in general, I like the kind of dangerous racing. It's like when you had the people who used to do the really cool, dangerous, you know, what you call them, like test pilots. Yeah, it's the same boxy design. Yeah, Vladimir. That's why I like my old Golf, because it was boxy. But yeah, what was the? I'm trying to think of the thing. My mind's gone back. You know, like the test pilots. You know, like the people who would do the crazy like vehicles that would kill them. Because we had the one in Britain where the bloke died on Loch Ness. It's quite famous because I think he did break the record and then he blew up. But there's a bit in one of the museums in Loch Ness where you can read about him. But he was a bloke, you know, where they did a really fast like land riverboat thing, you know, with like either jets or rockets on the back. You know, and he went fast, but then unfortunately the whole thing disintegrated when he was doing it. But, you know, I can understand the appeal of that, where you're like, this is a really, really dangerous kind of thing, but it'll go really fast, so sign me up, I'll happily sit in the driving seat. Ah, so they're soldiers who fought against the commies in the 50s, right, okay. That's a pretty good price for an old vest MT, even if it's you're not buying it for protection, because an old vests aren't that good in terms of protection, but they're pretty cool pieces of history. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of, like land speed records. It's not just those GZ dudes, they're very interesting, but you get like test pilots for all sort of things like that, you know, fly like the really dangerous planes, but it's the same sort of people who'd, you know, pilot them, the ones that are basically like, I'm going to stare death in the face when I do that. Single seat cars, let me have a look. When you say seat, do you mean Seat, or do you mean seat as in only one seat in the car? I know like Seat is like now owned, it's a Spanish company, isn't it? It's now owned by VW. So when you say single Seat cars, do you mean like Seat single series, or do you mean single seat as in one of these? I don't have an M1938 gas mask. Or do you mean a German M38? Because I've got a German M38. It's okay. I've done a video on it. Oh, that's cool. I haven't heard of them, but let me look them up, cheeky. Because if they do one that looks like a retro 1920s like pocket watch, but you know, it's just safe, that'd be quite cool. Cool. I am just looking at their website. Yeah, they do some that look pretty retro, don't they? Because obviously some of the models like companies like that do are quite overpriced, I think. Like, not saying this specific company, but you know, sometimes you get companies that are like, oh, we make a modern watch, but it looks like an old watch, so we charge way more for it. But yeah, they look quite interesting. I would quite like a watch, if I had to get another one, that is just a very, very simple looking watch, but with quite a strong mechanism in. One chair, as in not Seat. Oh, let me search single seat car if that gets me the result you're on about. Because obviously I've seen racing cars with single seats in. Have you seen a video on my channel of the Caterham 7? That was a 2-seater one, but that was fun. If people who don't know, search Caterham 7, and there's a video on my channel being in a Caterham 7 because one of my mates used to have one, but sadly he doesn't anymore. I think he sold it. But it was like a kit car version of the Caterham 7, and that was fun. It was like not that good performance compared to like a modern, like sports hatchback, but it was good fun. Like the smell of petrol and everything because it didn't burn the petrol that efficiently. Hard to say if it's because obviously if you've never lived in a period, I don't think you get nostalgia for it. But there's periods in history, Jesus do. So I think that would be cool to have experienced it. But with a lot of the old historical periods, you probably want good antibiotics and good vaccinations if you're going back in time there, because otherwise you probably just get an infection and die horribly. Oh, let me look that one up then. Trenton Radio Light. But anyway, I'll be going off fairly soon because I'm very hungry because I've not had any food today. Yeah, I like the dial on that. That's a very basic looking old dial, isn't it? It reminds me a lot, that dial, actually, of the old German World War II watch dials. Anyway, I'll head off now just because I'm hungry and I don't want to get too hungry. Yeah. I don't blame you there, Flazzy, where Vice City, yes, I like a lot of 80s, like synth pop kind of stuff, synth wave, whatever you call that sort of music. I don't know if it does, Bobby, mean you've had a past life in a time period. It might just mean you like, because don't get me wrong, you can definitely look at stuff from history and say, oh, I preferred the genres of music then, or the style of films. Because obviously, if you, like with a lot of the 80s stuff, I think 80s music and like films are a lot better than the stuff we get today. Obviously, the video games weren't because they were like arcade units back then. But anyway, have a good evening, everybody. I should be on most evenings this week, but most of the evenings this week when I'm on will probably be 8-9 p.m. sort of time, and I'll probably alternate between members and non-members streams. But yeah, have a good evening, everybody, and I'm probably going to watch a load of racing videos now because you've put me in the mood for it once I've had some food. Right, bye.